Welcome back. All right, so as I continue to look at teams that have missed this year's playoffs, we're down to Columbus. So we're almost at the bottom here. That means the Anaheim Ducks are tomorrow. So Columbus, it was a disastrous season from the beginning until the finish. Injuries absolutely did not help. This was a team that was relying on, there's some depth there, but once those injuries really took hold, it showed they didn't have the ability to keep up in the East, right? So they ended up with 59 points this season. Last year they had 81. There were much grander expectations for this team than 59 points. They were 30th in goals for. They dropped 48 goals from the year before, and they were 31st in goals against. They had 30 more goals against than the year before. So that means their goal differential was kind of a mess. The team was kind of a mess, and the addition of Johnny Gaudreau did not have the desired effect. Johnny Gaudreau, in the last 3 years, if you look at 2020, 2021 with the Flames, 56 games, 19 goals, 30 assists, 49 points. And then last year, quite the career year for him. Plays all 82 games, 40 goals, 75 assists for 115 points. So when Columbus picked him up, well, it's not that easy to replicate those numbers. Columbus, not a team that had the free-flowing offense that Calgary had last year either. So in 80 games in Columbus, 21 goals, 53 assists, 74 points. Then you've got Patrik Laine. And if you want to have an argument, just talk to somebody else about Patrik Laine. Odds are at some point there'll be an argument regarding what his ceiling is, what he might be, what he could do. Either way, injuries do hold him back. So 2020, 2021, he only played one game with Winnipeg before the trade. 2 goals, an assist, 3 points. Then, after the trade to Columbus, 45 games, 10 goals, 11 assists, 21 points. Last year, he played 56 games, 26 goals, 30 assists, 56 points. This year, 55 games, 22 goals, 30 assists, 52 points. So you can count on him missing 25 or more games a season at this point, and they do need him to be healthier. And again, Laine is a player who could be a 40, 50 goal scorer. He's got that talent. He's got that shot. But he has to be healthy and he has to be consistent. And both of those have been elusive for years, many years. I remember when he was in Winnipeg doing a video on how wildly inconsistent he could be. And the comment section for that absolutely divided between he needs to play with better line mates and others saying that maybe he was lazy, he was defensively unreliable, so you couldn't put him out in every situation. Laine's a very divisive figure. And having him and Johnny Gaudreau both on this team, it does get us talking more about Columbus. Boone Jenner, 41 games played in 2020, 2021, 8 goals, 9 assists, 17 points. Last year he only plays 59 games, 23 goals, 31 assists, 54 points. This season as their captain, 68 games, 26 goals, 19 assists, 45 points. So the points drop off a bit for him. He has 3 more goals and 9 more games played. But again, Jenner misses 14 games this year, missed 23 last year. And it's just that's the storyline right now with Columbus. Injuries. Key guys missing a lot of time. And it is something they will be hoping gets resolved next season and they don't have that same problem. Goaltending. Goaltending is going to be a discussion around this team for some time. In that Elvis Merzlikins, the .876 save percentage, that does not get it done. This is why they're looking for a goalie coach. This is why there's changes being made and all that. They need to get Elvis back on track. Tarasov, who's seen as the next guy, .892 save percentage for him. There are many others who played goal for them this year, a ton, but the reality is either Tarasov or Merzlikins likely to be the starter next year. And it's a matter of, can you get Elvis back to where he was a few years ago, or are they going to have to do something else? One thing with Columbus is it doesn't feel like we're headed into like a long rebuild here. At least not that the team will approach it as a long rebuild, because there's a lot of money being spent on a few players here, and so the pressure to be able to make the playoffs is pretty high. Now, the first time this team made the playoffs was 2009. Made the playoffs in 2014, 2017, 2018. All 4 of those years, they're out in the first round. 2019, they beat Tampa, famously beat Tampa, swept the President's Trophy winners, and then lost in the second round against the Boston Bruins. The following year, they beat Toronto in the play-in round, and then they lost in the first round against Tampa, and kind of a reversal of fortune there. Since then, no playoffs for Tampa or for Columbus. There's been lots of playoffs for Tampa, not for Columbus. And so while they're famous for 4 years ago overcoming that juggernaut in the Tampa Bay Lightning, that's really their claim to fame at this point. And for Columbus, with Columbus, I've always wondered like the identity of the team. What's the plan? Like they've had some good defensive teams. They haven't really had that megastar. I think that's part of the reason why them picking up Gaudreau was seen as kind of a surprise, because it was a move that seemed a little odd for Columbus at that point, and to be honest, kind of odd for Gaudreau as well. There were other offers out there, and he chose to go to Columbus. So in year two, it will be very interesting to see how Gaudreau's numbers look and how Columbus looks too. So when we look at their UFA and RFA lists, Lane Peterson, a decent pickup for Columbus. I wouldn't be surprised though if he goes to market. Bayreuther, I like Bayreuther as a depth defenseman. He's stuck around. He's a fill-in guy. He's been solid for them. Wouldn't be surprised if they keep him on a year minimum contract. Gillies and Hutchinson among the goaltenders, those two being unrestricted free agents this summer. I don't see Gillies or Hutchinson returning to Columbus. On the restricted free agent front, you've got Olivier. He can play a full shift. He's a fighter, of course, as well. Bernie, I thought Bernie was okay as a defenseman, but could they replace him out if everybody's healthy? Yes. So we'll see if Bernie's a regular and what kind of contract he gets. I would think he at least gets a qualifying offer, but again, that can be unpredictable now. Then we look at their cap space for next year. They have $17,854,167 in cap space. Now, they don't have anybody up here that's going to cost them a ton if they decide to keep him, so they will have cap space to pursue a top 6 forward or a top 4 defenseman if they choose to do so on this free agent market, or if they choose to go after a goaltender as well. But are they close enough to go out and spend up to the cap? Is that what we're going to see them do, or will we see them pull back a little bit? It's going to be interesting because there are some contracts on this team that are worthy of talking about as well. Starting with Gaudreau, $9.75 million contract till 2029. That is a long time. And for Johnny Gaudreau, I think he'll do his best to stick with it and try to make that positive difference for the team. Patrick Laine, $8.7 million till 2026. Again, when he's healthy and when he's producing, that cap hit for Laine is not a problem. But when he's injured and when he's not producing very much, that cap hit seems high. Roslovic, $4 million contract through next year. I wouldn't be entirely surprised to see Roslovic move this year. If the Columbus Blue Jackets get off to a slow start, if Roslovic does as well, he may be on his way out. Roslovic's played up and down the lineup, at times ending up in the doghouse. Jenner, $3.75 million cap hit until 2026. I think that is a bargain for Jenner when you look at all the contracts in Columbus. Goodbranson, $4 million cap hit until 2026. It was eyebrow-raising when Goodbranson signed that contract. I don't think he had a bad year with Columbus, but it still seems like $4 million a year is a lot to pay for Goodbranson and his services. Elvis Merzlikins, $5.4 million until 2027. Again, when his save percentage is at .876, that is way too high. They moved out Korpisalo. I think if there would have been a taker on Merzlikins, they might have taken him up on it. Although you'd be selling low on Merzlikins, right? So it will be interesting to see if Elvis can bounce back next season and have a good year. Werenski, of course, who only appeared in 13 games, had 3 goals and 5 assists in the games he played. $9.58 million contract until 2028. And when Werenski's playing, and he's playing well, he's worthy of that contract as well. But it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for these guys, and so I think there will be some pressure on this team to bounce back. And there are some youngsters in this lineup who may very well help to bring that along. First off, Marchenko. 59 games played, 21 goals, 4 assists, 25 points. And if Marchenko had played all year at the NHL level, maybe he's in the Calder discussion a little bit more than he is. But if he hadn't had that start in the AHL, maybe he doesn't score that 21 goals in that 59 games. Maybe he needed that time in the AHL. So either way, he's an NHLer now, and he looks like the best goal scorer that they have, period. Again, Laine's game is great and all. Laine had 1 more goal in 4 less games. There's just something about Marchenko that I think he should get 30, 35 goals next year. Blankenberg, 36 games played, 4 goals, 10 assists, 14 points. I know he's a fan favorite with Blue Jackets fans. Good defenseman, solid, young player. Chinikov only played 30 games this year, 4 goals, 9 assists for Chinikov. I like Chinikov. He's kind of snake bit when it comes to the goals, but hopefully those come next season. And Cole Sillinger had a miserable year after what was a strong rookie season. 64 games, 3 goals, 8 assists, 11 points. I do expect Sillinger has to bounce back next year. If he has another year like the year he just had, his NHL career may not end up being all that long. And it's weird to say because he's still very young. Very, very young, so it's too early to say bust with Sillinger. And he does play a defensive game as well, so it's not like when he's not scoring, he's of no use. But they do want more than 3 goals in 64 games next season. So in terms of building blocks for this franchise, digging their way out of this, the number 6 pick in 2022 was David Jiricek, defenseman, and he projects to be a very solid top 2/top 4 defenseman in the NHL. I'll go ahead and say he ends up being a top 2. They do have Werenski. They do have Boquist, who missed a bunch of time this year because he's a Blue Jacket. Almost all of them did. And then there's Kent Johnson, who was drafted 5th overall in 2021, a center. I think he made good strides this year, and those are 2 building blocks for this team. And of course, they have a 13.5% chance of drafting 1st overall. This is the year that if you're going to end up having a bad year, you could get very, very greatly rewarded. And if Bedard ended up on this team, it would go to great lengths to fix their 30th in goals for and to right the direction of this franchise within a year of Gaudreau arriving in town. So maybe the luck will be on their side and they'll get the number 1 pick. Anaheim has the best odds of 25%. Like I said, I'll be talking about the Ducks tomorrow. But, I mean, for the Jackets, they definitely need that. One trade that stood out, so I was looking at their trades, and one trade that stood out to me is still the fact that after signing Gaudreau, they had to move money out, and Bjorkstrand ends up being traded for a 2023 3rd and 4th round pick. Seattle does that trade again over and over. They wouldn't have a problem with that because Bjorkstrand's provided them more scoring depth and another 20-25 goal scorer. And I still don't know that Columbus got enough back. I don't know that losing Bjorkstrand did anything to help anyone. And we'll see this coming year whether or not Columbus can get that bounce back year. Being healthy would go a long way to that, and getting some breaks. They have really had no breaks. From December 13th to January 19th, they went 3-15. That's a miserable run. They got off to a rough start to the season. They were never actually at 500. They got within a game of 500 early in the season and then fell right back off. They have 2 first-round picks this year, 2 thirds and 2 fourths, and next year they have 2 thirds. So they haven't really started stockpiling draft picks, but we have the draft coming up in a couple of months here, and the odds of them acquiring more draft picks, I think, are pretty good. And maybe they pick up a draft pick for an expiring contract, but that seems less likely. We'll see what kind of trades they have in mind. So let me know your thoughts. If you're a Columbus fan, are you feeling optimistic they bounce back next year or no? Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.